Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. All the shows are on YouTube. Something like 200,000 shows have been watched. Thank you so much. We're real big on community policing. CAPS24.org, which Sonny Hirsch runs as the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District in his spare time, will tell you where all the community policing meetings are in Rogers Park, West Rogers Park, and the northern part of Edgewater. For the rest of the city, call 311. And speaking of community policing, the judicial system, as many of you know, I always place a very special emphasis on judicial races for the show. There is very little that can affect you more than a serious verdict from a judge in life. And, and even if it's on a lesser level, they play a very important part in life. And people go to the voting booth and they start checking boxes without having any idea who they're checking them for. So we try to introduce you to as many quality people as possible. And it is our pleasure now to introduce you to a circuit court judge, and that is Judge Kevin Horan. How are you?
Good, Avi. Nice to be with you.
My pleasure. And how long have you been a judge at this point?
I was appointed by the Illinois Supreme Court, and I was sworn in on November 1st of last year.
Very good. And how are you finding it?
It's great. It's a great experience. I think I'm in a position where, there's a lot of instances where that's the first exposure of people to the judicial system. I'm currently in traffic court, and if they walk away with a good attitude that they were treated properly with respect and dignity, I think that affects the feelings of all those people throughout the system. And if they ever have any other interactions with the courts, hopefully they'll feel that they'll be getting a fair shake.
How many cases do you see in an average day?
Well, it's a high-volume courtroom. In so-called minor rooms, you could get up to over 100.
Wow.
Those would be speeding and cases similar to that. In the major rooms, there are basically 6 or 7 cases that are set for hearing or trial, not all of which go. But you could also hear about 40 cases in those courtrooms. They'd be just processing the court cases and setting them over for hearings, but actual trials could get 1 or 2 each morning.
Wow. Want to tell us something about your background?
Yes, I grew up in the city of Chicago, northwest side. I attended Notre Dame High School, which was all boys. I didn't like it at the time, but in hindsight, I think it was a good experience. And
you can concentrate on things better.
Yeah, I sure could. And we were fortunate at the time then Maryville Academy sent its young men to Notre Dame High School, and that was a really diverse issues and backgrounds. When I was worried about getting homework assignments completed, those young men were worried about trying to find their parents. So it was just an eye-opening experience for me at a young age. So then after that, I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, came back to Chicago for DePaul Law School. And then after that, I worked with the State's Attorney's Office out of law school. And then after about 8 years, I worked with Senator Rock's firm, Rock, Fusco, and Garvey.
Wow, Phil Rock, I haven't heard that name in a while.
He's so well respected. Every person I've met, for the past 23 years, no matter which side of the aisle, would say that Senator Rock was probably the fairest person they had met in Springfield.
Yeah, he was the majority leader for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, he was the Senate president, and I believe he still holds the record for the longest running state Senate president in Illinois history.
Wow. So you've been around some very good people.
I was fortunate, I think that I learned so much from so many good people over the years, and hopefully I can apply that to the bench. No,
very good. And so you're enjoying the experience?
It's a great experience. I never knew how much I would enjoy it. I had a practice at Rock, Fusco, and Garvey, which dealt with a lot of litigation, but I think until you get on the bench, there's really nothing that can prepare you for what you're going to face.
Interesting. Now, are you in traffic court all the time? Do they switch you around a little bit?
In November and December, I was handling other courtrooms that were dealing with they're called post-collection judgment issues. And that was an interesting assignment, but then after everybody else got reassigned, all the new judges got reassigned back to traffic court.
Ah, very good. Oh, but by the way, one thing I'm glad I almost forgot, I keep forgetting to tell people, there's a judicial blog called For What It's Worth that's run by Jack Lahane. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be sending him an email afterwards telling him I interviewed you, because he's always trying to find out who's running for what, and it's
Great.
a good place to check up all the latest news. So
yeah, I've heard Jack's name. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, and I think we're going to try to get him on in the next shoot or two. And it's just so important to let people know. I mean, if you go to the ballot, you're going to see, Judge Kevin Horan. You're going to see some other names, and you're not going to have any idea who these people are. So this is a great reason to be able to check these things out.
It is, and absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, first of all, we're not through yet. We still got a couple more
That's
minutes.
fine. I'm just still thinking.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, I just think that this is an important public service, and I wish more people paid attention to the races and said, well, I think this one's Jewish, and I think this one's black, so I'll vote this way, I'll vote that way, I'll vote the other way, or I'll throw a dart, or who cares anyway, and then what happens if they get called in front of their judge and there's a major judgment?
That's right.
You know, you never know about things. So, I mean, you can't really campaign when you're running.
Well, you can get your name out there, you can meet people, but you really cannot discuss the legal issues because you decide cases based on the evidence that's brought before you. And so you cannot prejudge cases. And that's why the judicial canons of ethics are pretty specific, saying that, you know, we can get our name out there, we can have fundraisers, but it's all very limited, so we don't have any direct contact.
No, you can't sell it for soap the way the politicians do.
That's correct, yeah. Although all the rules are changing.
They're definitely changing. As a matter of fact, boy, that's something I have to look up more and address. But you can't just go 40 acres and a mule like, you know. There was a Gone with the Wind, I think that was the movie that was showing that.
Those days are long gone.
I wouldn't mind the 40 acres, though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's right.
But in any event, no, it sounds like you got a great background. So when DePaul played Marquette, I mean, I used to go to basketball all the time, especially in the 70s. I mean, those were some great teams. And Marquette even won. Were you at Marquette when they won the NCAA championship?
I graduated the year before they won the NCAA championship.
Yeah. I saw them about 2 or 3 times here, and I used to love seeing them play DePaul.
Those were great games, especially at the stadium at DePaul. It was so unique. The Alumni Hall?
Yeah, about 5,500 seats. I was there all the time. It was all bleachers. There was no backs to the seats.
Right. No, that was great.
Everybody's knees were in you, and your knees were in them, but the game was so gripping. And the quality was unbelievable of basketball at the time.
It was great. And you asked me the question, where did my loyalties lie? Yeah. With Marquette.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I say that is as much as I love DePaul, Marquette never treated me as hard as DePaul because law school was not easy.
No, that I hear. I'll tell you, I cheered for Marquette too, and that had a lot to do with the fact that I just loved Al McGuire. I thought he was the greatest coach.
He was fun to be with.
And it was just, I just enjoyed watching him so much it wasn't even funny. Not to mention guys like Maurice Lucas and Goose Tatum, but another day.
All right.
Anyway, Judge Kevin Horan, I hope you'll give him consideration. Maybe we'll get you on the show again before the election. It's still a long way off. But, please take note because he's a very, and I try to be very picky and filter who I get. So, Judge Kevin Horan, thank you so much. Do you have a website?
Thank you. I do. I don't have it memorized, and I will give it to you at some point.
We're going to try to flash it on the screen.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks, Sonny. And thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.